Yeah, so my name's Ed Nash. As you can probably tell, I'm from England, but I moved to Nashville around about 2006, and that's where I live and paint and exhibit really throughout the US. And I focus on 2 or 3 different styles in my painting. I have a series of paintings I call terrain paintings, and they're made of mixed media, very textured paintings. And then I have abstract paintings, and then I have some representational work. But they're all connected around a theme of Wabi-Sabi. And that's really what this show's called. And Wabi-Sabi is a Japanese aesthetic that really connects with the philosophies and aesthetic based around beauty through the imperfection, beauty through the patina and the decay, beauty through erosion, beauty through, but also in a way, beauty through the build-up of layers. Kind of a little opposite from what we would particularly see as beautiful per se in sort of Western American aesthetic. And so that's really what I'm focusing on here in this series. And what was really fun about this collection that I've done here for the gallery, for Courtney's gallery, is that I painted a lot of these paintings here on site. And that was a really great experience for me because I got to take in the environment and the scenery and the whole Big Sky, Montana light, I guess. And you know, sometimes when I'm stuck in my studio in Nashville, I sort of forget where these paintings are going. And I feel like art really connects with the environment it's in. And in a way, I want to bring the outside, the outdoors, the geology and the landscape of Montana in to the home. And that's kind of where I see these paintings fitting. And the palette in many ways is earthy, some warmer elements to it, connecting with some of these sort of sage green palettes and we might see around the Bozeman Big Sky environment. And yeah, it was kind of a very rewarding experience for me to do that and sit and sort of take in the atmosphere. So these particular paintings, as I said, I've done them on site here in Big Sky, and all my paintings in general have a minimal composition to them, and there's loose, organic sort of gestures in them in a way, squiggles, scrapes, that become the focal point of the painting, which really the rest of the painting hangs upon. Okay, so for me, I'm building up the layers, do another layer over the top, and then I'm blocking objects away so that certain elements can float within those spaces, and I have space for these objects to float and live around. And often, you know, people ask me what the painting's about. In general, what are they about? Well, they're spatially balanced for me. They've got to read in a certain way. There's got to be space for the objects to move and float and then kind of speak to each other in a way. And then they're pulling your eye up, to the left, to the right, down, and then there's sort of harmony, balance around the painting. And then I'm sort of trying to create these textures that we want to, you know, there's a sort of attraction that we want to touch and feel the textures and undulations of the paintings. So they sort of look like they've been weathered and built up. And, you know, and often I see these paintings connect with other paintings here in the gallery, other sculptures particularly. The patina of a sculpture, the way that a sculpture patinas over time, I'm trying to create those in a still effect, I guess, in a painting. I do want to make a painting that is uplifting, but sort of melancholy and calming in the same way. It's a hard balance, you know. What you're trying to create in a painting, you're trying to create raw energy and movement and texture, and then you're trying to calm it down with the neutral spaces in the same way. And then I think also it's the drips and the gravitational pull of the drips coming down the painting. Probably it has this movement down, and then it has a movement up at the top. So for me, that's sort of balancing out. A lot of people like looking at the paintings and seeing the history of them. You kind of like peering peering back into the distant past of the painting. And that's what when I look at a graffitied wall or an old billboard where it's been layered and layered and layered with distant posters and posters and posters over the top. And it's sort of in the way, this is an organic painting that sort of almost created itself. I've helped it along its way, and I'm listening to the painting, and I'm like, well, where does a painting want to go? What I'm trying to harness in this, and that's like it's a cool graffitied wall that you'd find that's just been left, and people have added to it over time. There's no central direction to it, although there is. When I'm making a painting, there's me. I'm the central direction to it, but in a way, you're trying to create that same aesthetic. But they all do have a focal point, though, and that's very intentional for me. The painting has to have a focus. And so I'm trying to pull the eye up or to the left and to the right. And sometimes, like this painting behind me right here is focused in the middle, whereas the one right here, the objects are pulling apart. So the eye's kind of moving over here, and there's the spaces in the central part of the painting, whereas over here, the spaces around these objects. But it's balanced on the left over here, and it's getting pulled up on the right. And see how that reads? And the dark is on the left, the light's on the right. And it's getting pulled up to the right here with this little grey area on the right. And it's getting balanced out by the more neutral space on the left, the lighter patch on the left. So they all, for me, I'm always trying to read. That might just be, I'm not sure if it's always intentional, but that's just the way the painting flows. And it's got to read right for me when I step back and look at it. And people often ask, well, how do you know when a painting's done and complete? I said, well, first of all, you need to look at enough paintings, and two, you need, obviously, once you developed your own style and I guess language, I'd say these paintings have their own language, which is my language that I've used and developed, and I've got different sort of tricks. I'm going to try and create depth in the painting using black. Each of the paintings have a little bit of black just to create contrast in the painting. If there's no black, it gets very neutral. And so I've kind of got these little, again, like I said, language that I'm using to create the paintings in. And that's just happened over time, working. The harder we work, the better we get, the eye develops, and we know how our paintings wants to read a little quicker, I guess. And so that's how we know when a painting is finished and complete. People often ask, well, how have you got so many different themes in your work? And I do have a lot of themes in my work, and it's really important for me to do that because I need to change things and keep things fresh. And in fact, they all speak to each other in a way because they're all based around the philosophy of Wabi-Sabi. The terrain paintings, they're forming, they're cracking, there's textures, there's layers, they're organically forming themselves. There's a lot of natural processes go on when I'm creating those. I'm creating paint and glue, there's wood pulp, there's spray paint, there's pigments, there's all sorts of objects going in to create these paintings. And it's actually the natural process of evaporating which forms those, and I can't control those. And so there's elements in these other paintings, the drips and the cracks, that I can't always control. But it's still fun. Those undercurrents are there of Wabi-Sabi. What's really fun is to work with an art dealer like Courtney here at Courtney Collins Fine Art in Big Sky, because she really just lets me run with concepts and ideas, and she's not really trying to guide me where she wants me to go in terms of my work. And it's really freeing for me to do that and to say, hey, I really want to make this series that's based around Big Sky, the landscape, and how it speaks to me emotionally, visually, the palette, and how does that all connect, together for a show. and where all the paintings can speak to themselves. Sometimes, I'm putting a show together where it's different paintings from here, and one is last year, one's this year, and one's a bright one. But here there's sort of a harmony, they all speak to each other. I feel like they do anyway. So that's a really fun thing to do, and I've been here a week now, and it's really fun to be able to see the paintings come together.